Welcome back to Retirement FAQs. I'm really excited to have Lorrie Burnworth on the podcast with us today. She is a lifelong entrepreneur with a thirst and passion for real estate. She really enjoys applying this to her own clients' lives and helping them build wealth and maintain wealth, especially with the complexities that can come with a retiree who may be deciding what to do with their single largest asset. So welcome, Lorrie. Thanks for being on today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Taylor. This is great. Thank you.
Fantastic. It's an interesting time in the real estate market with interest rates being relatively high and prices higher than ever. I think you expressed a common question you're getting from your clients who are retired is now the time to buy? Is now the time to sell? Is that right? Or is that kind of the theme you're seeing with clients right now?
It very much is, because a lot of retirees are at the point in their life where they do need to make a decision. What makes the most sense moving forward for ourselves, for our family, for the inheritance of our kids, if there are kids involved. And yes, you're right. Over 59% of retirees are unencumbered by a mortgage. So they have 100% equity in their home.
Sure.
And even if they're not in that number, the remaining 41%, the majority of them have a significant amount of equity. And so they are at that advantage of being able to use their equity to make a move. And so they have so many options. And what I generally say when I'm asked the question, what should we do? The interest rates are high. Are we really going to find a buyer at our preferred price for the home? And what's the current market value of our home? What's it really going to do? How long is it going to sit on the market? All the questions that they're going to ask. And so initially, I want to hear their story. And from that, we can build a strategy and implement that and start taking the steps to do whatever it is that they want to do. So the factors that I would take into that would be their future plans and goals. Where do they want to live? Do they want to be within a certain area for being close to family? What are their health needs? And as far as a hospital, do they need to be near a VA hospital or a specific type of hospital, or is that not as much of an issue for them? And so anyway, we just take all of the different components that are part of their situation. We build a strategy, and then, like I said, we start implementing steps towards that. So there are so many options that they can do. And so then I find out what it is, what their goal is, and from there we just start taking those steps.
It's more than just the value of your home. It's really a sentimental piece of your life. And
Absolutely.
I found this with my own grandparents actually through COVID. They had been not lifelong, but long-term residents of the greater Boise area, but found themselves kind of geographically distant from family. And then so they were trying to make the move down to southern Utah and St. George. And it was a bit of that, hey, prices are so high, interest rates are going up. They almost felt a little locked in, if you will, into their home because of the transition. It was hard to buy something just as good, quality-wise, size-wise for the same price or lower. Is that a common scenario you're seeing with clients? And if so, how do you speak to that?
Well, it depends on the area. But generally, if you're downsizing, depending on what it is that your existing home is and the amount of equity that you have in it is going to depend on what your financial availability is in order to purchase a new home. There's also the option of keeping your existing home, using it as a rental, and taking that income, especially on a home that you're unencumbered with a mortgage. If you don't have a mortgage on that home, then the majority of that rental income you could apply towards a mortgage on a smaller home closer to family that fits more of your needs. No stairs in the home is a big thing that I'm finding that retirees really is important to them, which absolutely makes sense. And so just as a one-story rancher-style home with a smaller yard, all the different things. And so right there, generally, depending on the area, like I said, that they're going to move to is going to determine what it actually is that they're moving from and then moving into. Another thing that's an option that I do discuss also with my older clients is if you do have a larger home, you want to be close to family, there's also the option, if you've got the space for it, to do an ADU, which is an accessory dwelling unit. And so you could build that on your property, and then potentially family could move into the larger home, and then the parents, grandparents could actually move into that as well. And so that brings the family closer together. It's a great financial option that is also out there for people. So there's like I said, there's so many options that people can take into consideration.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That actually brings to mind a client that lived in for 37 years who was trying to make a change, stairs being one of the reasons. And their daughter had a lake cabin not too far from them. And they did that. They built an ADU and an additional wing, they called it, on their daughter's home, completely independent living. But they're able to sell that large asset easily, cover the cost for the ADU. And now they have this huge surplus of funds that allows them to really broaden their horizons and travel, spend, do the other memory making activities they want to do. So I think that's a great idea.
Absolutely. What economists are saying right now, the majority of them are saying that interest rates are going to start to slowly come down. It's going to take a period of time. It's not going to be any magical moment. It's going to be a progression of slowly moving down, but home prices are also expected to continue to rise. And over the next 5 years, the average of the economists' predictions is that home prices will increase 15 to 25% in the next 5 years.
Really?
And so, does it make more sense to purchase a home today at the price it is today, at the interest rate that it is today,
Right.
and then in, say, 2.5, 3 years to refinance the purchase price you get today versus waiting that time? This is where it doesn't make a lot of sense. But people are hoping for those unicorn year interest rates of 2.5, 3%. I doubt we're going to see that again. And so, but I think that there's a lot of people that are kicking themselves that didn't get that or that want to buy at that again. And so they're waiting for that. But in fact, they're kind of just shooting themselves in the foot because interest rates, as they do start to come down, prices are going to go up. So I would rather refinance at a lower interest rate and a lower price point than the opposite of that. So I would say that that's a big point. That's something that I talk to all my buyers about because right now, that's what all my buyers are saying. Interest rates are ridiculous, Lorrie. My payment, and it's putting them in a different price point. But at the same time, you can refinance that in a few years. Or do you want to get a larger mortgage at a little bit less of an interest rate? So,
Right.
and then of course there's all the options of, buying down your interest rate. There's so many different formulas of doing that, prepaying the interest and doing a buy down, a temporary buy down, a permanent buy down. There's so many options there that people can get into. But my advice is buy now and refinance when the interest rates get a little more comfortable.
I'm no realtor like yourself. I'm no chief economist, but it does seem that there are many people like the clients you have that you described are literally waiting on the sideline and waiting for the interest rates to drop so that they can buy or borrow at a cheaper rate. But I think what they forget, and correct me if you feel otherwise, but there are literally thousands, hundreds of thousands of other people thinking the exact same thing. When interest rates go down, it's going to be a madhouse. People are going to be thinking it's Black Friday, which ironically will make everything that much more expensive. Wouldn't you say?
Exactly. It's going to put in the multiple offers. The bidding wars are going to happen again, which is going to push prices back up again, which is where we were, with the crazy in 2022 with multiple offers and price. People were just offering so far above asking price just so they could win the home, just so they could get their offer accepted. And that's not a very healthy position to put yourself in. So that's where I do believe that right now is a great time to buy because we do not have multiple offers coming in on very many properties right now. And so it's a great opportunity to go do your house shopping right now and to make an offer. Yeah, it's going to be a higher interest rate. It's going to be a payment that you kind of have to close your eyes to sometimes and, cut back on other things. But when we all look at our budgets, there's generally quite a bit that we can cut out of it and cut back on. And if home ownership is your goal or buying a second home is your goal, I think you find it worth it.
Sure. Yeah. Again, this is definitely not like a once in a lifetime opportunity, but retirees are likely locking in their final home for life. No one wants to say, "Oh, I'm buying a home and I'm planning on moving again in my mid 80s." No one wants to go
Right.
through that. They're looking for a set and forget it decision that they can feel really confident about. So sounds like if you find the property you want, it may be worth biting the bullet to borrow at higher rates for a few years, but at least you have the property and then you can lock in a lower rate when you refinance once rates go down.
Exactly. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
what reasons could you give that it might make sense to stay on the sidelines rather than buy or sell in today's environment?
I think that in the spring, prices are going to be higher. So selling in the spring, it's going to be a wild time to sell. It's going to get really, really good for sellers again,
Mhm.
more so than it is right now, because right now buyers are more hesitant. And so sellers are having a hard time selling their homes because of the buyers waiting for a better interest rate. So, as a buyer, I think that right now is a great time for buyers because you're able to get more that you can offer for the sellers to cover for you. Closing costs, you can ask for a lot of different things that we can work into the offer for buyers. I think the buyers have the advantage right now because of the fact that there are not a lot of buyers that are actually willing to make offers. I do believe that in come next year and probably early mid-spring, that it's going to become more of a frenzy. Interest rates, we're going to see them start to come down again. With all the stuff that's going on, it's putting more fear in buyers. So there aren't many of them right now. In the spring, there's going to be multiple buyers coming at homes, and there's going to be multiple offers coming in again, which is going to start pushing prices back up for sellers. So if I had a crystal ball, I could say for sure, but just in my gut and from my experience, my opinion is right now is a great time to be an aggressive buyer, to get in there, to find the home that you really want, and to start and to make an offer at it. In the spring, I think is going to be a great time to list your home because there's going to start becoming more buyers going to be at it, and there's going to be multiple offers going to be brought into homes again.
Sure. As I'm thinking about that, Lori, it kind of sounds like many retirees are probably on both sides of the coin, right? They're both going to be a buyer and a seller. They're looking to sell their own home
Absolutely.
and somewhere else. So, and I agree, there's always going to be times when it is more of a buyer's market or it is more of a seller's market because of interest rates and everything else. And what's most important in all this are other factors such as where do you want to be? How is your health? Where is your family? And these other factors that may drive the decision beyond just the numbers.
Absolutely. And especially with retirees, because the majority of them have more equity than the younger generations. And so they've got that advantage as well because they're not financing as much
Right.
as they would have when they were younger or the younger generations are. So if they're able to sell now and get that cash out of that house to downsize and buy something closer to family that's a little, more manageable as far as the space, the no stairs, just everything that they need to just simplify and downsize their lives, they've got more cash to do that. So they're not financing as much, if anything at all, honestly. And so that's what's a beautiful thing. It's kind of like they're opening the next chapter of their life. And it's such an exciting thing to be able to help them do that because they're able to start living the next chapter of their life. They're able to start traveling more and spending more time with family and, taking up new hobbies and doing all the great things. And so managing a big home is no longer what they want to do. So
Right.
that's just something that I really enjoyed being able to be a part of that process with them.
That's awesome. Thank you, Lori. And wrapping up here, I think that was a great point as well, because I've seen a statistic that millennials, in contrast to, baby boomers and some Gen Xers who are the retirees today, millennials are the greatest portion of home buyers today. And they have
Yes.
drastically different goals, mindsets, financing capabilities than, like you mentioned, the retirees who many still have a mortgage potentially, but they have certainly a lot more equity and buying power and leverage that
Yes.
they've built up over a number of years than the largest cohort of home buyers today being millennial. So there is a competitive advantage for many retirees just in the selling space that I think they're not aware.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And another thing to that point is also it's best to try to finance before they actually retire. If they are going to finance a mortgage, it's much simpler because that income verification and all those steps is so much simpler and just so much more straightforward than if we do it once they are retired. So that's just another piece that people need to consider.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. Easier to prevent a problem
Absolutely.
than to fix one.
Exactly, which is where the conversation, getting it started as soon as possible to get that conversation going, to learn their story, learn their goals, and just put that, like I said, put that strategy together and start implementing the steps. Even if we're looking at, a few years ahead, years down the road or whatever, if we just have a plan, then we can know what we're doing and start taking the steps, which is what you and I just love to do for our clients, right?
Right. Well, Lori, it's been fantastic. I love this conversation. Obviously, there's a lot of nuances with this topic and just as unique as each client we work with. So really appreciate your time today and looking forward to having you back on to discuss another FAQ that retirees have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shayla. You have a great day.